Part of this is graphing, most of it is not though. So on number 1 it says, given the function and rule and domain. So we talked about this last week some, but normally functions are written something like that. They're not just, they don't just write a bunch of ordered pairs, they call this the rule for the function. So to find the value of f, you have to do 2 times whatever x is minus 1. And sometimes, like on Friday, they tell you what to put in for x, they give you a domain, and sometimes they do not, and you have to just make up your x values to figure out.
Will it always be 2x minus 1, or can it be any?
No, it's made up. It can be anything. It can be fractions or exponents or whatever. It can be any weird thing. On number 1, it does give us a domain though. So it says f of x equals x minus 4. Then it says d equals negative 203. What do you think d equals negative 203 means?
Domain, which is
Domain.
the x-axis.
This means this is what they want us to put in for x. So we are going to write our answers in ordered pairs. You guys remember what ordered pairs means?
The things in parentheses.
Okay.
It's like a coordinate. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the coordinates when you graph it. So what should I put in the first spot? Negative 2.
Oh, right.
The x value. Okay, they tell us what the x values are. They say negative 2, 0, and 3. How do I find the y value?
You plug it in.
Or in this case, you might call it the f of x, the f value. Okay, yeah, you just plug in whatever they told you to put in for x, kind of like the table we did on Friday, and then whatever comes out is your y value. So if I plug in negative 2, what's negative 2 minus 4?
Negative 6.
Negative 6. If I plug in 0, what's 0 minus 4?
Negative 4.
If I plug in 3, what's 3 minus 4?
Negative 1.
Okay, and then those are the 3 points. Sometimes they ask you to graph it, sometimes they don't. If we graphed this, you guys want to guess what shape the graph would make?
A line.
It would be a line. We did some of these on
I
Friday.
didn't know it's a line.
Basically, if there's just an X, it was a line. You remember what shape on Friday? On Friday, remember we did a couple of these? Remember what shape that made?
I do.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's called a parabola. It never gets completely vertical. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger though. Yeah. Would we fill in the line between the dots, or would we just leave the dots if we were graphing?
I don't know.
Okay, if they give you a limited domain, then those 3 answers are it.
That's all.
So just those 3 dots would be graphed. If they do not limit your domain, like if they say x can be anything, then not only the points that we graph would be part of the answer, but everything in between would be part of the answer. I'll explain that more later. But darn, we've got 4 graphs here, so I should have cut the graph paper in half. happy Halloween. Is that just what you need?
Yes.
Sorry, but
You like candy?
Yes. You got it.
No, it's like corn, but they just make it candy.
Rock, paper.
If you went to a place and you said, they just gave you candy, tell me, would you like it?
Okay. Number 3. The directions say graph each function. So on number 3, it gives us a domain again. Instead of saying f equals, it says y equals. Doesn't really matter. -1, 0, 2. Okay. So if I plug in -1 for x, what am I going to get for y? What's -3 times -1? 3. Okay, if I plug in 0 for x, I'm using the domain they gave us. What's -3 times 0?
0.
If I plug in 2 for x, what's -3 times 2? -6. Okay, so we need to graph those. Now, notice -6 is the lowest point, so you need to make sure your graph can go at least down to -6. That's what the graph paper is for, yes. The highest point is 3. Okay, so -1, 3. How do I get to that point?
You write a dot at it.
Okay, Jaden,
Yeah.
if it says -1 first, which direction should I move? Yes. And then +3? Up. So yeah, -1, 3 is right there. The little man has to run over first, then he climbs the ladder second. Alright, and then 0, 0, the origin. And then 2, -6. So that's right, 2 down 6. Okay, it's in a line. Should I draw the line?
No.
No, the domain is limited to just these 3 x values, these 3 points. However, on number 5, they don't give us a domain, which means x can be anything. The domain is unlimited.
H supposed to be on number 5.
H? Oh, h of x? Just like f of x, it's just a different.
Why? Why can it not just put y? Like,
Because it wanted to do. Why can they not go on?
Girl.
Okay, so they don't tell us what x values to use, so I'm going to tell you what x values to use. You could plug in anything, but you don't want to plug in giant like numbers like 100 or a million. So just like on Friday, I want you to choose x values that are close to the middle, so close to 0. So let's do these 5.
Why 5?
Number is that? Number 5.
If I plug in -2, so I'm writing it in table form instead of the parentheses order pair form. If I plug in -2 for x, what's 2 times -2 plus 1?
Or -5. Or
Nope.
3.
-3. And then if I plug in -1, what's 2 times -1?
-2.
Plus 1.
-1.
2 times 0 plus 1. 2 times 1 plus 1. 2 times 2 plus 1. So the lowest it goes is -3, and the highest it goes is +5. So maybe I should Alright, so -2, -3, -1, -1, 0, 1, 1, 3, whoops, 1, 3, 2, 5.
And then we draw a line.
Yeah, should we draw the line on this one? Yes. Okay. Why do we draw the line? Okay. If even though I didn't find all these points in here, all these points actually exist. Like right here, for example, that's probably like 1.5, 4. Now I didn't plug in 1.5 and get 4, but it exists. Or any of these points, weird decimals and fractions, but they all exist even though I didn't find them.
But what about the other one? How come you couldn't find it?
On the other one, they gave us a limited domain of just 3 x values. So it's only shown as those 3 points.
So since they gave us the freedom.
On the other one, if they did not limit our domain to those 3 x values, we would have drawn a line. And why did I draw arrows on the end of my line?
Because they go.
Goes forever. You have a question?
No,
You raised your hand. All right.
If it's 1, 0, is it gonna be on the right?
That was pretty quick. I guess it always works. I better put it up in case you want to watch the first part.